subgenres of horror is the zombie movie. While most of them are guilty pleasures, there is one, however, and I always remember one user comment I read on the Internet Movie Database, when something like, a zombie film with a brain, can it be true? Well, I guess it can. I'm going to be a little bit shorter on this one because I already did a 9-minute review about this movie, Della Morte dell'Amore, so you should check that one out. It is basically the story of Francesco Della Morte, who works on a cemetery where the dead come back to life. But this movie isn't really about the zombies, it's about Francesco and how he struggles with his life, especially when it comes to love and death. And that's what I love about this movie. It's a different zombie, a different horror movie. It's almost like an art horror movie. The story is kind of surrealistic. The movie's atmosphere and music is a bit dreamlike, and besides that, it's funny, it's gory, it's kind of sexy. It's just an awesome movie. Be sure to check out my other review about it. One of my favorite directors is Takashi Miike, who is notorious for his controversial and often ultra-violent movies. Currently I've seen, I believe, 15 of his movies, and my favorite one is, ironically, nothing like the violent movies he's famous for. This is going to be a hard one to explain. Not that it is a complicated movie, it's just hard to explain why I love this movie. The plot is actually pretty simple. It's about a Japanese businessman who is sent to a remote Chinese village for its valuable minerals. But on his way he is joined by a Yakuza who is sent to get a share of the minerals. And along with a guide they travel to this village, and when they finally arrive there, they slowly forget about their original intentions as they become, well, almost obsessed with the magical-like village. One user comment on the Internet Movie Database sums it up pretty well by saying that The Bird People in China begins as a quirky, gentle comic adventure story and gradually morphs into a truly epic exploration of the very nature of human emotion, loaded with rare insight, a deep, true warmth and some utterly unforgettable imagery. And, well, that's pretty much all there is to say. As the characters in the movie fall in love with this magical place, you as the audience fall in love with this magical movie. It may not be an easy movie to watch, since the pacing is kinda slow, but it's certainly worth it. And it also shows that Takashi Miike, the director, is capable of way more than just directing ultra-violent movies. It's really a movie you should just see instead of listening to someone telling you to go see it, if that makes sense. Like most of you know, I love horror movies. Sometimes I want them to be gory, other times I want them to be funny. Well, put these two together and there is no excuse for not having this movie on my list. Braindead should be on the favorite movie list of everybody who loves gory movies. Why? Well, simply because it is the goriest movie ever made. And funny thing is, this movie is directed by Peter Jackson, who a lot of people only know from his Lord of the Rings trilogy. Well, this movie is something else. The story is about Lionel, a mother's boy who falls in love with his girl, Paquita, but he also has to deal with his mother who turned into a zombie, and with the other people that turned into a zombie because of his mother. Well, by the sound of the plot, you can already guess that it isn't a serious movie. And I would rather call it a comedy than a horror movie. Well, yeah, well, why not? It's really funny. Everything is way over the top, so none of the gore is really disturbing unless it is the first gory movie you ever see. And that's what I like about this movie. It's just really, really fun. You just sit back with a beer and a couple of friends and you're guaranteed to have a great night. The pacing is good, the humor is, well, not very subtle but very well executed. The acting is fun, I love the music, and there is wall-to-wall gore, with the final lawnmower scene being the icing on the cake. Call me twisted and whatnot, but I love this movie. You either like him or you don't. Yeah, I'm talking about Quentin Tarantino. And well, I like him and I really like his movies, with the exception of Death Proof. But with the movie he made after Death Proof, I forgot all about that. Yeah, my favorite Tarantino movie. Like I said, a lot of people just don't like Tarantino's movies, so it's going to be tough to explain why I think this movie is so great. Well, let's start with the plot. The movie takes place in France during World War II and is divided into 5 parts that basically covers 2 storylines. That of the Bastards, a group of Jewish Allied soldiers, and that of Shosanna, a French Jewish girl, and both are working on a plot to put an end to the war. Like a lot of Tarantino's movies, there is a lot of dialogue, and even though the movie plays for 2.5 hours, it's never even a bit boring. For example, the scene in the La Louisiana bar runs for almost 25 minutes with maybe just 1 or 2 minutes of actions, other than that just dialogue, but man, that scene is fantastic. It's so tense, it's so exciting, and that goes for a lot of scenes in this movie. The casting and the acting is nearly perfect, with Christoph Waltz as the SS Colonel Hans Landa stealing the show, just fantastic. Tarantino also makes great use of music, especially Ennio Morricone's Western music. And all by all, it's just a super great movie. It's funny, it's cool, it's exciting, it's not by any means a traditional war movie. It's more like, well, a Tarantino movie that happens to take place during war. Just check it out. Last movie on the list, second action movie on the list. So well, even though I really love The Killer, there's always this one movie which I consider to be the ultimate action flick. Any guesses? Well, this movie is awesome. It's a sequel to The Terminator, but it kinda works on its own. 2 nearly indestructible robots are sent back in time from the future, one, who is played by Robert Patrick, to kill this kid John Connor because he will rise against the robots in the future, and the other, being played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, to prevent John Connor from being killed. But you should not think too much about the plot, because then movies with time traveling tend to get kinda messy. It's just a movie with fantastic action scenes, great characters, great character development, and good acting. Arnold Schwarzenegger is just perfect in this movie. He's just too badass. The action scenes are crazy. It's awesome to see these 2 Terminators both with just one mission, and they'll do anything to accomplish that. And of course you got the revolutionary computer effects. But it's not even all about that and the action scenes. Like I said, the character development is very good and plays a big part in the movie. So if you think that Terminator 2 is just another action flick, you're wrong, and you should definitely check it out. Like anyone in the world should.